The future is here now, today. Today is the future. Yeah, we can go ahead and say that. Welcome everyone to Break Room Conversations. I am so excited to have our dear friend, Jessica McCarthy here with us today. Whoop, whoop.
Hi.
She has been with the company for 27 years and is an area sales manager. And we felt that it was very important to have Jessica on today because we are going to be talking about this fantastic segment that was in Congress called Salon of the Future. And who better to talk about Salon of the Future than someone that has been in this industry for just almost 30 years. It's crazy. So can you tell us give us a little cliff notes. What is Salon of the Future all about?
Okay, so real quick, and by the way, you still have time to see it. So if you're very excited about this, you still have to get Congress access until like the 30th of this month. Totally worth it. Your time, your investment, everything. So the Salon of the Future is really, it's really a very scientifically studied approach where there's a lens that's used to encompass the whole, all of the moments leading up to a guest's visit, all of the moments within, and really all of the moments after. So typically, like when we look at a salon visit, we talk about what happens in that sphere that is the salon, right? Like while somebody's in your building, how were they greeted? How did you say goodbye? Was your charging correct and all of that? But the truth is, like for your guest, this is a whole continuum. So it's like a series of these cycles going on where there are these peaks and valleys with anticipation and anxiety. And so it's how do you take all of that and curate it for the best guest experience, while keeping in mind that we live in this age where we're not going back. Everything is curated for the ultimate personalization. Right. So we live in a world where everything is about us. We've just come out of a year of being at home, and we're, everything in our social is kind of fed towards what our tastes are. And our salons have to meet that and create this luxury experience through that lens.
Yeah, because times have changed and it's crazy. Like within just, a year or two, so much has changed. So we're really having to relook at how we do business and how we service others. And people are wanting that experience all around before, during, and after their visit, which is what I love about Salon of the Future. And, our sacred service wheel that we all probably have tattooed on our body by now at some point. They've broken it down to really focus on that pre-visit and post-visit. And what we really enjoy, I mean, we only have 15 minutes to talk about this, so we had to pick one of them. And something that we don't talk a lot about is the post appointment. What happens after the service. So Jess, can you just give us a little snippet on what was discussed about the post appointment?
I'd love to, yes. So my friend and yours, Keith Smith, who is an owner for Ruiz Salons, was the segment 4 guest talking about post-appointment. And as a former, as somebody who has been there, was their SDP for a long time, and who was a service guest for many years too, they've always been really great at post, and they're amping it up even more. And so really, like the post-appointment talks about, not just how do you retain that guest, but how do you keep them engaged with your business and keep them deeply in love with the business throughout that time. So one of, I mentioned peaks and valleys before. And so like that peak experience is like, you look in the mirror, you're like, oh, I'm radiant, right? But as soon as you hit checkout, which is the beginning of that post experience, you start to hit a valley. And the very bottom of that valley is your first styling experience with your new hair. And it's how do you capture the guests' attention and keep them happy during that time, so that they're rolling into their new service really with anticipation, which, by the way, my best friend says is her very favorite emotion in the whole world. So I think probably a lot of us have that. We haven't identified. So how do you build anticipation for the next visit and keep the guest engaged? And it all looks at human beings fundamental need to belong. We're tribal creatures. We want to belong. And so how do you keep them belonging to the salon in between? So that's kind of the premise behind it.
So this morning I read an interesting article that stood out to me, and it's exactly talking about what you're saying. And it said, and I'm like reading it, so I quote it properly. In a post-pandemic landscape, at the high end of the beauty industry, only two categories will remain: the average and the artful. Like, that was so impactful for me. And that's exactly what it is, that you're talking about. So yeah.
It's either going to be okay or fabulous.
Yep. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I did.
You didn't interrupt.
Yeah, I mean, that's so powerful because it is true. I mean, in regards to everything, like, we really need to just re-examine. And now is the time that we re-examine, and that's okay. It might seem scary, but there's fabulous tools that, just you can continue, talking about, that are there, and they work. Everything we bring to you works. But yeah, what are some other like tidbits that they discussed on behaviors?
So some of my favorites were a digital follow-up. So a styling lesson, something coming out to you by a virtual text, like a super short video from your stylist, less than 1 minute, saying, Alberto, I loved seeing you last Thursday with this new haircut. Here's what I want you to remember. And then just a little bit of personalization. I think sometimes, and I'm speaking as a consumer right now, stylists can forget that you really are the cool kids, and that those of us who are out in the world, like we want you to like us, and we want you to think we're cool and stylish. And so when you remember us in these little tiny ways, it's very special, and it's a really deep deposit. And so something like that personalized video text, which only takes a few moments, is a massive deposit into that relationship account.
Yeah, I absolutely love that when they showed the example of the stylist, how she said, she thanked her guest for coming and sent it. And I was thinking of some other examples. When you get tagged in a post after a fresh haircut, making sure you're resharing that too, and thanking your guest. It was so great seeing you today. And that way it's like, they feel like a celebrity when they're blasted on your social media too. So it's, how are we keeping them engaged and excited after they leave us? I know some other ones that were mentioned were referrals. So can you talk a little bit about referrals?
I'd love to. And so that was the referral piece was the way that they're doing it right now at Ruiz is they're using a mailed thank you card from the stylist with a referral offer for a friend. And so, I'm going to use Alberto again since he's our guest today. Okay. But Alberto, I loved seeing you last week. Thank you so much for trusting me with your hair and your beauty needs. I would love to meet some more of your friends, and I would love to share an appointment with one of your friends. So it's just, again, it's the sincerity and it's the outreach, and it's 2 outreaches.
Yeah.
Right? And then a lot of what they're doing is systematic too. So there's a lot of verification that happens in terms of verifying that the guest has rebooked their next appointment, verifying that she has taken some home care, and then moving into the digital sides too.
Yeah. I think thank you cards are super important, and it's a forgotten art. The card is a forgotten art, rather it be digital or paper, because it really does personalize it. And everyone is looking for more of a personalized experience of, where are they going to, spend their time and their hard-earned money with. And people want to feel appreciated, So, I mean, Ruiz has an incredible business. And after listening to Heath speak about this, I'm like, well, wow, y'all are capturing them before, during, and after. All they can think about is their stylist and their salon. So I thought that was really important. And I think it's definitely some food for thought for, what are you doing once they leave? How are you staying engaged? Are you really personalizing it, or are you sending a generic text message out? So what can you do?
because it really should have that personal vibe. I'm thinking about, while we're talking about this, I'm thinking about like the objections that might arise from that. That's probably my salesperson hat, right? So how do you overcome the objections? And so the first objection that would show up, right, is time. I don't have time to do that. I'm really booked and I don't have time to, hustle out 10 video texts at the end of the day and share them with my salon owner so that they can share them with the guest. And so should we tinker with that a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. How do you, you're so busy, Jess, behind the chair. How are you getting all this done?
So I think the first thing you'd say, and this is going to sound terrible, anybody knows me, like, oh God, is you're going to have to find time to do it, because the truth is that, our retention matters, our reputations matter, our referral systems matter. And it's when we don't do things that we start to have those little gaps, and if we're going to compete and we're going to compete in, the future of this industry, how do we make sure that we have the time for it? And so it might look like, I think we talked about this. I think we talked about it in the Salon of the Future at Dame Salon, where they take 15 minutes every morning, all the stylists do, and that's how they prep for their day. This could be part of your prep then, is looking at yesterday's appointments and shot, spinning off a quick video.
And, salons that I've gone into and I've seen very busy stylists put this into practice. They'll go in a little early, or they just really, really manage their time to do these extra little happies for their guests, for their business. And they are still the most booked, bringing in the most, but they are taking that time to appreciate their guests. And, if you have a front desk team that's able to support you, lean on them as well. They're there to help. They're there to, increase sales or anything. So utilize that team as well.
I have a salon I work with that immediately started implementing the video text. Like that was like the first thing, as soon as the owner saw that, she's like, we're busy, but we can do this. Everybody's got a phone, everybody's got a camera. They can send them to me and they can go back out through the salon contact information.
Yeah, we're always on our phone.
Yeah, utilizing technology, I think, is the best thing right now. Automation,
So to sum this up, and Salon of the Future, for those that do have access to the Congress website, I personally just watched it recently, and I'm so glad that I did, because it didn't take long at all. It's four 30-minute sessions about.
Right about, yeah.
Yeah. And, it really does kind of help reawaken and re-inspire you for going into the end of the year and preparing for the new year. But yeah, let's Jess, if you could just sum it up for us, a little recap on Salon of the Future and that post-appointment, strategy.
In 10 words or less, right? Okay. What would I say about that? I would say extend the joy. So the intention there is to extend the joy. Show them you know them, help them know themselves, extend the joy.
I love it. Right in time for the holidays. Extend the joy. All right. Well, we appreciate you, Jessica, for coming on today. And we look forward to seeing you all next week. Have a great rest of the day, everyone.
Thanks,
Bye.
Bye.